Over the years, I have found that men who are 25 to 30 years older than me tend to seem more interested than men my age. How do you feel your preferences have changed over time? To clarify, I am 28 years old and I am interested in men my age, not those who are 20 years older. Story 1. When I was younger, I tended to focus solely on looks and physical attractiveness. Now that I'm older, while the physical aspect is still important, I am much more attracted to a woman who is intelligent, knows what she wants, and generally has her life together. Story 2. I don't think older men place a lower value on beauty. I think older men see beauty differently. What makes a woman seem beautiful becomes less obviously physical and more holistic. Other qualities truly make her beautiful. You can feel it when you look at her. Story 3. Taste and type haven't changed at all. My age preference has always been roughly my age, but I don't care if they are older or younger as long as there isn't a significant discrepancy. Story 4. The older I get, the more important it becomes for women to have values and preferences that do not clash with my own or that they are capable of having calm, constructive, and open discussions about. Their views on raising children, sharing chores, cooperation, and handling finances are also very important. I want to find someone to spend the rest of my life with, meaning that attractive individuals do not catch my eye at all. The person themselves are much more important than any physical attributes. Although this is still an ongoing process for me, there will still be occasions when I have questionable ideas or make unwise choices. Story 5. As I got older, I found that I was more confident about choosing someone who matched my preferences. My taste didn't change, but my confidence did. Story 6. When men used to look at women in their mid-30s and say they were attractive, I thought they were going crazy. But now that I'm 36, I prefer my bananas a little riper. Story 7. When I was younger, I focused on looks and physical attraction. Now, as I age, it seems my taste in women has changed to those who are crazy and controlling. I'm not sure what happened. Story 8. It became less about looks and more about her character. While it is a plus to have curves, it means nothing to me if she lacks intelligence. Story 9. The older I get, I remain attracted to women of a similar age. I understand that young and beautiful women are appealing, but it is the women my age who truly captivate me. Story 10. I have zero tolerance for drama nowadays, and I don't care if it comes in a nice package. I prefer to spend my time with confident women who have their lives together and enrich my life with their presence, rather than make it difficult all the time. I also strive to do the same for them. Story 11. I am attracted to women my own age. It is interesting how that changes as I grow older. I bet when I am elderly, I will be running around playfully interacting with older women. Story 12. While I have always had a weakness for the emotionally unstable, I now find myself more interested in emotionally mature women, as I recognize they make for better partners and consequently better relationships. Story 13. I have two categories: women I am interested in sexually and women I want a relationship with. The first category has remained consistent over the years, encompassing anyone I find at least somewhat attractive. The relationship category has evolved. I now seek a more well-rounded person. I cannot neglect this important area of life. Story 14. I used to think women in their 30s and 40s were old and unappealing. Now I find myself in that age group, and I can't understand why there are so many attractive women in their 30s and 40s that I didn't notice before. Story 15. It's strange, but people kept telling me that when your wife starts having kids, her body will change and she would not look as great as she did before, like before marriage or when she was younger. I don't know. Those childbearing hips, those stretch marks, and the bulging tummy carrying our little one. I think that's the most beautiful thing I have ever witnessed in this life. I just chalk it up to my ancestral instinct. She is the mother of my child, and she is beautiful. Story 16. Compatibility. Can we be friends? Sure. Physical appearance is important, but can we be friends too? Even at my age of 60, I meet women who complain about everything from their health issues to how their ex-partners mistreated them. When I listen to their personal history, sometimes the only thing that runs through my mind is, run. Story 17. I used to be interested in traditional wives and similar concepts when I was a fan of a certain style. Now I admire strong women whom I could respectfully ask to demonstrate their strength. I consider this an upgrade. Story 18. I am still 22, but I realize that I am more attracted to women who are 3 to 5 years older than me because they already have their priorities set straight, such as career and hobbies, instead of fooling around and not being serious. Story 19. I am 69 and prefer more mature women. Young women often feel uncertain about their place in life, similar to young men. Older women have a clearer understanding of their needs and desires. Story 20. I had typical crushes on pretty girls like most seemingly straight teens do. As I got older, I preferred partners who were smarter than me, regardless of their appearance. Over time, my attraction shifted from women to men, focusing mainly on my very smart boyfriend. Story 21. I tried putting my preferences in order. 1. No mental illnesses. 2. Sexually enthusiastic. 3. No young children. 4. Loves to travel. 5. Open-minded. 6. Enjoys cooking. 7. Close to my age. Attractive to me. 9. Financially stable. 10. Similar interests. Story 22. I think my taste in women when I was younger was similar to my taste in superheroes. I would become fascinated by redheads or blondes, a certain figure or skin tone. It was more superficial and naive. As I got older, I realized that what draws your attention is not always what is truly attractive to you. There are women who seem to possess character or a certain kind of intelligence that keeps you thinking. However, it is all for nothing if she is too judgmental, nagging, or superficial. Right now, I just need someone who cares and genuinely wants to be with me. She should be pleasant to look at and enjoy physical touch. Story 23. Personality matters significantly more. I was at a bar with one of my single friends, chatting with a friend of the girl he was talking to, and it felt like slamming my head into a wall. She was attractive, but there was nothing going on upstairs. Being attractive should not define your personality. Story 24. I have always enjoyed larger women and have dated several wonderful ones over the years. I love the way they feel and look. For me, it's all about proportions. I prefer larger hips that also come with ample breasts. I prefer breasts that project further than the stomach. However, the older I get, the more I associate larger women with a lower quality of life. It's not enjoyable to travel with them due to challenges like small airplane seats and issues with swelling. They often cannot participate in many fun activities, struggle to tolerate heat, and have difficulty walking for extended periods. Then there's the cost of food, which can involve unconscious snacking, and the expense of healthcare. There are many psychological challenges in trying to support them while also encouraging a healthy lifestyle. It can lead to low self-esteem and struggles with depression. Additionally, it can affect their ability to conceive. So, while I still feel a strong physical attraction to larger women, I am becoming disenchanted with the practicality of it. Story 25. When I was younger and insecure, I wanted a woman with more masculine traits. As I've gotten older and more secure, especially in my masculinity, I want a more feminine and softer woman. Story 26. I prefer women who are slightly chubby for some reason. I'm not too picky about their style, but I tend to lean towards the I used to be the scene/emo girl in middle or high school look. It seems they still carry some of that identity with them, no matter what. Honestly, if they haven't changed their appearance but have improved their personality, that would be great. So I guess not much has changed except for the need for maturity, less neediness, and, for the love of God, just give me someone trustworthy for once. That's the reason I can't even attempt to have a relationship anymore. I have no trust left to give. Or, at the very least, break up with me before you start seeing everyone I know. Story 27. There are some consistencies and some evolutions. I am much more selective in my physical preferences and more discerning about the intellectual and character aspects. Story 28. When I was younger, I had specific preferences for what I found physically attractive in girls. Petite, blonde, and blue-eyed. Now, it's less about their appearance and more about the connection I feel with them. When I feel a connection with a woman, I instantly become more attracted to her. Story 29. My preferences when I was young were simply girls in my age group, but they have evolved. Now, I consider whether they want the type of relationship I offer, whether they match the type of relationship I seek, and whether they make me happy. My preferences typically lean toward individuals in their mid to late 20s, but as long as someone is in a similar life stage, that's acceptable. Physical attributes matter less to me. It doesn't matter if someone is shorter than me or of a different body type. They can be curvy or fit. Ethnicity is not an issue either, whether Latina, white, East Asian, South Asian, Black, or any other background. What truly matters is that they bring me happiness and align with my relationship needs. Of course, I do need to find them attractive, but my standards are not very high. You would have to be quite unhealthy or an extreme variation in height to disqualify yourself. Story 30. I used to subconsciously look for women with underlying problems I could fix. I liked having a project, I guess. Now I look for women who mostly have their lives together. Story 31. I care much less about her appearance and much more about her character and chemistry. I screen women because I have learned the hard way what can happen when you do not. Story 32. When I was young, I liked older women in the 30 to 45 age range. Now that I am older, I prefer age-appropriate women in the same age range. Story 33. The idea of having taste no longer makes sense to me. Worrying about how attractive your partner is relates to ego, not to your relationship style. If you have the right connection, people who look like anything can be attractive. Concern over your taste in women is akin to worrying about how your car looks. Story 34. When I was 10, I liked 10-year-olds. Now that I'm in my late 30s, I like 30-year-olds. You don't know how relieved I am about that. Story 35. I used to prefer fit women with small breasts. However, I ended up marrying a woman with a fuller figure and larger breasts because her personality makes her physically beautiful to me. Now, when I consider my attractions, I realize I don't have a specific type. I just want to be around people who are kind and enjoyable to be with. Story 36. I used to prefer skinny girls with big breasts only. Now I am attracted to wider hips, and while big breasts are optional, I appreciate a few more pounds than I previously did. Story 37. I just turned 40 and found peace a few years ago with an amazing woman who is composed and does not engage in the drama and emotional challenges that many women impose on men as a condition for companionship. Story 38. This question gets asked almost every day, and I am convinced it is posed by insecure women who want to change to be wife material or something similar. The answers are always the same. I used to like emotionally unstable girls. Now I appreciate maturity. I used to focus on physical appearance. Now I prioritize soul and intelligence. I used to be attracted to body shape. Now I value health. I used to like wild personalities. Now I prefer balanced individuals. It seems that every week, it's the same question with the same responses. Story 39. Looks have gone from a priority to a secondary value. Being genuine, caring, and having a personality is actually most important. You would not believe how many women think that pretending to be a boss or a princess qualifies as having a personality. Well, a bratty kid is technically a personality, but men who are attracted to children should typically be in a facility. Bonus points go to women in their 30s who have a child or two and still expect princess treatment from day one. There are so many of them. I am 34 years old, and recently, finding a woman who is genuinely attractive beyond looks has been really tough. Those I have found have been 7 to 10 years older than me. I am kind of afraid that getting older will change my preferences or lead me back to drama queens again. I hope not. In summary, instead of looking for the prettiest women, I seek those I wouldn't mind being stuck on a sailboat with for a week. Story 40. It hasn't changed much. I'm attracted to a woman who is smart, driven, and responsible. Looks are a bonus. I've dated many beautiful women, but when they start talking, I notice a lack of depth in their interests and I lose interest. I want a woman who knows what she wants, is kind, passionate about life, educated, and wants to make a difference in the world. I'll support and partner with her for life. Fortunately, I met my perfect woman on my second try. Life is amazing. Story 41. I have been married for over 25 years. If I were single and my age, I would be looking for something genuine. In my younger years, I sought a fantasy, but that leads to disappointment. I prefer a lasting love with its ups and downs, like the one I have now. Story 42. It really hasn't changed. At 61, I find the same type of woman attractive that I did at 20, even if they are older now. The only thing that has changed is that I need someone with a more adventurous side. Anything less just won't work for me. Story 43. I wanted an athletic person with a good face when I was younger and played sports competitively. Now, I just want someone who is emotionally stable, caring, and has a cute factor, regardless of what it may be. Story 44. The age I find most attractive has increased as my own age has. However, my ideal age range is still younger than I would prefer. When I was 29, I met a 40-year-old woman at the horse track, a rare occasion when I actually met someone without the help of the internet. We both bet on the same horse and were pleased. We dated for a few years. I honestly struggled with the age difference, but it was political differences that ultimately drove us apart. I had discovered Rush Limbaugh in the early 1990s, while her biggest passion was keeping abortion safe and legal. Now at 65, I would say that the age range I find most attractive is between 40 and 55. Story 45. The one thing that has changed now that I am older is that personality plays a huge role in my attraction to women. When I talk to my friends, they know I like someone when they hear me say, I am attracted to her personality. I am also at a point in my life where communication is essential. I cannot deal with someone who won't communicate and is afraid of having serious or uncomfortable conversations. I used to be like that and have made changes thanks to therapy, ensuring I will not settle for the wrong partner. Story 46. I used to interpret women who pointed out their dissatisfaction as negative. I thought they were difficult or might be a nag, but now if a woman can communicate her dislikes and, more importantly, her wants and needs, I view that as a positive sign, provided it is done constructively. Additionally, in my teenage years and 20s, I used to interpret honesty as loyalty, meaning she wouldn't cheat or be dishonest. Nowadays, honesty to me also means being willing to express how you feel, communicate when you want something, or when something is bothering you, rather than relying completely on me to read the room, especially if we haven't been together for years. I value compatibility of interests much less and value compatibility of values much more. Would it be nice if my partner shared my interests and hobbies? Sure, but it's not as significant a factor for me as it was when I was younger, when I mostly thought of all the ways we could spend time together. Lifestyle compatibility is now an actual factor. Before, it didn't matter because we were mostly all broke college students, but nowadays I want someone who shares similar lifestyle priorities, even if we aren't in the same tax bracket. Story 47. I transitioned from being attracted to women who resemble someone I admire to appreciating women who use their skills to showcase their unique beauty. Additionally, I began to find a natural appearance more appealing than an attention-seeking style. Story 48. For me, it's girls who are attractive and have a calm temperament. I don't know why, but I just want to annoy them and hopefully make them laugh or enjoy my silliness. I appreciate a girl who can tolerate my teasing and playful nature. It doesn't matter the age as long as she is of legal age. I've shifted from being primarily attracted to a certain body type to appreciating a different one. Story 49. Education and shared values matter significantly. I spent my 20s in college, working, and earning a postgraduate degree, so I find people with similar experiences much more relatable. Appearances have become much less important. Story 50. As an older male, my preferences have changed greatly over time. In the beginning, it was all about just being physical, or so I thought. However, I was also very emotional. I wanted to engage with women who were emotionally connected. As I entered my late 20s and early 30s, I began to desire more emotional connection than physical intimacy. Therefore, I gravitated toward emotional intelligence and connection. Age didn't really come into play. In my 40s, after my divorce, I wanted strong, independent women who could match my energy. Emotional connection mattered. At that point, age became significant because younger women seemed to be less of an emotional drain, which I appreciated. However, in my 50s and beyond, the focus has shifted to energy, spirituality, and emotional connection. I just want an equal. Nothing else matters. Age suddenly became less important, with more emphasis on who the person is rather than what they could provide physically. I learned that I could adapt and work with a partner in that regard. While I still need to feel some physical attraction to begin with, that is not the main focus. When I dated younger women in their late 20s, I noticed that others thought they had issues related to their fathers or male figures. What I discovered, however, was that they were going through a phase where they sought intellectual connection alongside emotional intimacy and often stability. Older men and women often have that to offer. It is not unusual to go through such a phase. Story 51. Both physically and emotionally, it hasn't really changed much. I have always been attracted to nearly every personality, body type, and age. Looks can be nearly completely disregarded in favor of an incredible demeanor, wit, and personality. Beauty can be disfigured, so to speak, by arrogance, narcissism, and selfishness. Story 52. In addition to looks, emotional stability, and financial knowledge, no debt outside of car and mortgage, positive net worth, savings, and not a compulsive spender, are important. Person should be intelligent and well-spoken. At 30, I am able to attract and go on dates with more women than I ever did in my 20s. That said, you have to enjoy the person you are talking to. Looks alone may get a woman my initiation, asking for a number and a date. It can be quite disappointing when the attractive woman I ask out turns out to be a train wreck, empty-headed, directionless, or mentally stuck in adolescence. Some instant negatives include a hardcore feminist mindset, girl boss attitude, daddy issues, and an inability to take ownership of her faults and failures. Story 53. Physically, when I was a teenager, I was only attracted to slim women. Now, I am attracted to women who would be considered plus-sized as well. I am 31 and I am starting to find women in their 30s much more attractive than women in their 20s. Character-wise, I have changed a lot, so what I look for has changed as well. For instance, I am now agnostic and I look for someone who can connect with that, whereas before I was Christian and would only date Christians. I also look for individuals who can communicate and handle conflict in a healthy way, as I went through emotional abuse in my last marriage. I appreciate women who are more independent, emotionally mature, and kind-hearted. I think I would have been intimidated by someone who was very independent in the past. I am also much more likely to explore a connection with someone I don't initially find physically attractive because I have learned from experience that my perception of someone can change dramatically as I get to know them. I have always wanted love, a relationship, and, honestly, marriage. However, I am now more mature in what I look for and what I expect from a partner. Story 54. I used to love very religious and conservative women. I was being foolish. Now, I just like honest people who are unashamedly themselves. Story 55. I have one more year left in my 30s. I regularly eat lunch at a Raising Cane's on the university campus near me. College students come in all the time, and I notice when they wear leggings designed to enhance their appearance. I can't help but take a few good looks. Then I look up and see their faces, and they often appear very young to me. They wear university merchandise and carry backpacks, so I know they are students, but they all look so young. Even if I were single, I cannot imagine trying to date someone in college or even trying to be intimate with them. Just one look at a 19-year-old these days, and I feel like I might get in trouble. Thank goodness everyone in the teen category on adult websites is actually older. Story 56. My preference has always been for women my own age. My wife is a year younger than I am. She is my attractive 49-year-old. Story 57. At 35, having never had a long-term relationship and having dealt with difficult individuals, I no longer desire a relationship with a woman. I am choosing to remain single for life. Story 58. My taste in women, like most men, differs significantly depending on whether you are referring to casual hookups or relationships. Which one are you discussing? Story 59. As I've gotten older, my perception of age has changed. When I was an 18-year-old, I likely wouldn't have looked twice at a 40-year-old woman. A 30-year-old woman seemed doubtful as well. Now at 45, I know some very attractive women in their 60s that I might have pursued if they weren't married and coworkers. Meanwhile, the young women I work with, who are nursing students in their early 20s, would have thrilled my 25-year-old self. However, even if one of them expressed interest in me, I would probably not notice or think, "Oh, she's being friendly, how nice," without considering them as potential partners. Story 60. I've stopped caring about breast and body size as long as a person is in good physical shape. My desire for a long-term relationship has decreased, though. The women who fit this description and are single are few, and those who aren't narcissistic are even fewer. It's easier and more economical to spend $50 on drinks at a bar and take home someone for one night than to deal with a narcissistic person. Story 61. I'm still physically attracted to young adults, but mentally they are so far behind that it's hard to have a real relationship with them. They love playing games and don't know much about the real world. However, because some guys are only interested in physical relationships, they tend to ignore this reality. They are not ready for the truth. They just want fun. Story 62. Earlier, I was attracted to girls who were attractive and had above-average looks. Now, I appreciate mature women with whom I can share mutual understanding and explore common interests. I used to prefer popular girls who were extroverted. Now, I favor introverted individuals who are similar to me. Looks fade over time, but personality endures. I want someone to love me for who I am and to correct me on my mistakes instead of placing blame. Story 63. The girls I liked when I was 16 are now the kind of women I prefer. The women I like now are also the ones I would have liked back then. Story 64. I used to like curvy women with nice hourglass figures and a little extra weight, but not too much. I dated one for a long time, but she gained a lot of weight. So now I prefer to avoid heavier individuals. I don't mind a little extra weight, but if you have a body type that tends to gain a lot, I'm not interested. Story 65. I am 34 years old and still dream about the girl I fell for in the 4th grade and graduated with. I just woke up from one of those dreams. It is safe to say my feelings haven't changed much. Story 66. I don't like them at all anymore. I have no interest in them, in the things they do, or in the things they are interested in. They still look good to me, but as far as wanting to be around them, not at all. I am done with them for good. Story 67. I used to always say I cared more about personality than appearance, but appearance has started to gain more importance than personality. Story 68. Physical attractiveness is common among women, but a decent personality is not. In fact, it seems that being exceptionally attractive negatively impacts many women's personalities. This has led me to prefer those who exhibit a more down-to-earth, natural beauty. Story 69. It ultimately comes down to meeting an interesting woman who is nothing like my ex, and she becomes my type when I enter a long-term relationship with her. Story 70. I don't know, it seems about the same, but maybe I have relaxed my standards a bit because there are more beautiful women now than there used to be. Story 71. I dated into my mid-40s and found my wife. My tastes in women and their appearance never changed, but what I looked for in personality did. After 35, I added provides me peace, calm, and can logically solve problems with me as a criterion for moving forward with commitment. As a result, I essentially dated a revolving door of friends with benefits. Story 72. When I was younger, I didn't like women with any extra padding. Now I look for it. Comfort, not speed. Story 73. In my younger years, I was very particular, and I have realized recently that I missed some amazing opportunities and genuine interest from women that I essentially ignored. Now, my tastes have greatly expanded. Story 74. I am still attracted to younger women physically, but I cannot connect with them due to our differing levels of life experience and maturity. I have no interest in being with someone who has not yet figured out their career or wants to go out clubbing or travel around the country trying to find where they fit in. Reliving that phase of life is not appealing to me. Story 75. I didn't really care about a woman's career as much, but over the years I have. Not for the title, but for how their work affects the life side of the work-life balance. If they are in a career that limits time and that time is mostly spent with them stressed about work or taking out their frustration on our time together, it is definitely an attraction killer. This is especially true if they are not working to improve their situation, either by seeking new opportunities or doing a better job to enhance their work-life balance and mindset. Story 76. The reality about men and women is this: you are who you are. What does that mean? If you like superficial individuals and cannot see past their looks, you are a superficial person. I often chuckle at individuals who believe that because they are built like the Barbie character, they should wow others with their outside beauty. The same goes for men. There is no doubt we are attracted to beautiful things, so remove the bias, observe, and report back. In business, there is a term called the meeting of the minds. In that moment, the connection is so strong that you will know if you trust that person with a yes or no answer. Sometimes we all get deceived, so choose wisely. Story 77. Dating a woman who is adventurous in bed would have been fine with me when I was younger. Now I prefer excitement to be limited to the bedroom, as legal fees can be costly. Story 78. My taste evolved from women to women with particular features, many of which were not the ones that other men seemed to find attractive. Many of my contemporaries preferred blondes, while I was drawn heavily to brunettes, redheads, and darker hair in general. At that time, I didn't realize I had a specific type. Story 79. For me, it was earlier than that. Since I was 20 years old, perhaps because I am a bit sensitive, I definitely do not tolerate arrogant attitudes or double standards. I do not care how rare it is to find someone who does not exhibit these behaviors. If they have no baseline for respect and courtesy, they do not belong here. Story 80. I love the same physical and mental characteristics. However, I do have expectations such as a job, healthy teeth, hair, and no chest tattoos unless you embrace that chula chola lifestyle. Story 81. I'm only 30, but physically, wider hips appeal to me much more than before. I find that women with more curves than in my early 20s have great childbearing physical features. Story 82. I place even more importance on being physically fit and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. This becomes significantly more challenging as you age. Story 83. Honestly, not much. You can expect the same 9 or 10 things regardless of the woman. Young or old, black or white, skinny or heavy, some things never change. As I got older, I began to look for women who offer peace. I dislike fussing, fighting, or arguing. Additionally, a woman with her own financial stability is a plus because you don't want all the financial burden to fall on you alone. Story 84. My standards and boundaries have become firmer. I still carry the same youthful optimism when entering relationships, but I am quicker to recognize warning signs and less likely to relax my boundaries. Basically, once my initial idealistic view fades, it takes a lot of effort from my partner to change that impression. I am more than okay with being alone than to suffer in discontentment within a relationship. Story 85. I had low self-esteem and dated anyone who was willing to date me. I settled for one particularly bad person who was abusive. I would rather be alone than settle for anyone ever again. She must be loyal, respect my boundaries, be a good person, and be my partner. I will accept nothing less. Story 86. When I was younger, I was attracted to older women. As I got older, I started developing limits. I didn't want to date a woman who could be old enough to be my mother or even my grandmother, and I didn't want to date anyone younger than me without feeling uncomfortable about it. At the age of 24, I set an age limit for myself. Anyone my age or 3 to 4 years younger was acceptable, and I would feel at ease with anyone 4 to 5 years older without feeling like I was being taken advantage of. Now, I am in friendly communication with a woman who is within my younger range, probably around 25 or 26, and another who is within my older range, around 29 or 30. I am unsure if I want to pursue any type of relationship in the long run beyond simple friendship, as I have been let down enough times to have my doubts. Story 87. You are still very young, but there is a maturity issue as well as the need to recognize red flags and selfish attitudes. It's not all about looks. Personality often plays a more significant role, although looks are important. Younger women may not truly know what they want in a man, even if they think they do. As a man gets older and continues to date, he often dates more frequently. In my experience, I could usually tell if it was right by the third date. Intimacy remains important, and its quality is very significant. Therefore, I now seek more kind and emotionally stable women. I have also found that many American women can be overly materialistic and egocentric. That's a significant red flag. Just because they think highly of themselves does not mean they are deserving of that view. Women can treat men poorly just as some men treat women badly. I completely adore my girlfriend. She does so much for me without me asking, and I find immense pleasure in doing things for her in return. Story 88. I have an exact list of qualities I seek based on my relationships in adulthood. Here it is. Turn-ons/requirements asterisk. Kind. Funny. Around my age. Local. Supports my relationships with family and friends. Can handle men being vulnerable and expressing feelings. Balanced in emotions and attraction, with potential for love. Physically active. Not racist or racially motivated. Sexually compatible. Not financially motivated. Fully self-supporting. No major mental illnesses. Medication and therapy are acceptable if needed. Either not an addict or in recovery with at least 1 year clean or sober. This is important as I am in recovery. Puts in the same effort as I do. Artistic. Intelligent. Safe. Displays affection. Local. A food enthusiast. Enjoys reading. Turn-offs asterisk. Abusiveness. Dishonesty. Drug addiction. Dismissiveness. Stupidity or closed-mindedness. Hot/cold behavior. Entitlement. Lack of effort. No effort on birthdays and holidays. Overly focused on their own appearance. No direction or ambition. Unemployed. Disorganized. I have dated enough women to know what I want. I feel I have moved past the need for casual flings and exploratory sexual adventures, and while I wouldn't rule out one-night stands, I'm no longer inclined to pursue them actively. I have decided that I deserve to have standards. I have earned it. Story 89. I find that when I was 20, I was more attracted to people aged 18 to 30, and now that I am 40, the range has shifted to about 30 to 50. Story 90. I am 20 years old, and I believe that women who understand my autism and its impact on my communication tend to appear and behave significantly better than others. Story 91. I used to like the girl next door vibe, but now I prefer a more edgy style. Tattoos are very appealing to me, although when I was younger, I thought they were foolish. I particularly found it silly when someone would get their own name tattooed. Story 92. Talking exclusively about the physical aspect, I would say my taste keeps expanding. For example, I used to be an enthusiast of older, thicker women, but in recent years I have developed an appreciation for petite, slim young ladies. However, I still appreciate both. I have had this conversation with friends, and we all agree that our tastes continue to evolve. Story 93. In my teens, I was really into the heavy metal, punk, and goth aesthetic. As I got older, I found myself attracted to casual t-shirt and jeans girls who were not focused on looks or dressing up. Not that they looked sloppy, but I was not into heels, makeup, or anything like that. Then, somehow, I became attracted to fuller-figured women, and there we go. Story 94. In part, my tastes have changed as I have gotten older since my preferences have evolved. We generally are attracted to younger individuals for evolutionary and other reasons, but that standard continues to rise. Additionally, personality and character have become more important. Story 95. Hot, crazy, and tattooed when I was younger. Now at 39, it's still hot, crazy, and tattooed, but I also ride motorcycles. I'm gonna keep this one. Story 96. Changed? It's hard to answer, but I'm 27 now, and what I will and won't tolerate is changing. More of a realization, actually. My desire for sex is less intense, and I have a much clearer idea of what I want in a woman. At 19, I would have sex with or talk to nearly any girl simply out of curiosity, and it was fun. However, the 27-year-old me is much stricter when it comes to relationships. Story 97. I'm 43 now, and my taste in women is still the same. I prefer women who are small, short, slender, and have small breasts. I still like women in their mid to late 20s. Story 98. Most men eventually understand the risks and rewards of dealing with certain women and often settle for less. My personal experience suggests choosing a woman who presents herself well, such as one who looks like a higher rating. If she dresses exceptionally well, she may already be rated highly. Avoid women who fall into the higher attractiveness categories unless you are seeking a short-term relationship or an ego boost. Women who are very attractive often realize they can attract many men and may not settle down with someone who cannot provide them with the lifestyle they desire. Most men come to appreciate that while physical attributes are appealing, peace and compatibility are essential, with personality being a significant factor in relationships. This is why we use the phrase settle down. Story 99. When I was young and single, I did not object to promiscuous behavior. Now that I am older and married, I no longer partake in that. It reminds me of a joke by Mitch Hedberg. I used to think promiscuous behavior was unpleasant, and I still feel that way now. Story 100. When I was young and struggling, women who had their lives together intimidated me, so I dated those who were lost. Now that I feel more composed and mature, I find capable, confident women much more attractive. The people I once dated seem immature now. I prefer someone who can complete a project and look good doing it. Story 101. I am 27 years old, and I have several female friends, some of whom live abroad. I can confidently say that as I grow older and more mature, I find myself deeply attracted to older women, specifically those aged 30 to 50 and beyond. The reason for this attraction. While not all, many older women I have encountered exude incredible confidence and are genuinely open, without fear of being judged for topics that might be considered taboo or embarrassing among a younger crowd. After all, we are all human. As I age, the appeal of a confident and open woman grows stronger. I find this quality attractive, not necessarily in a purely romantic sense, but because such individuals do not feel the need to act dainty or pretentious. Story 102. I used to prefer dark women, but now I prefer light women with dark hair. I want a woman who is understanding and patient. Story 103. My ex helped me shape my tastes and realize what I want in a partner. Essentially, I want a best friend. Someone who can't wait to talk to me at the end of the day, share something funny that happened to them, or unload their stress with me. Someone who understands me and accepts me for who I am without wanting to change me. Someone who is not afraid to be quirky and unique, who does not feel the need to meet an unnecessarily high standard all the time. Story 104. I think some of you lack reading comprehension. She's saying that men aged 25 to 30 years her senior are now interested in her. Lady, it's because to someone who's 60, you're still considered an attractive option for some recently divorced men or widowers. They're getting bolder because you're an adult, and younger women would call them out for being inappropriate while you would actually consider them, which is the point of the post. My opportunities for relationships with older men have increased significantly in the past few years for the same reason. You have some experience, so you're less annoying than a 20-year-old, but still attractive. Edit. I'm not a sugar baby. I said opportunities. Men have offered to take me to the Keys to sail for a weekend, to tour wineries in Napa, and for shopping sprees, all as part of casual conversation to see if I'd take the bait. Story 105. I think I have become more attracted to younger and more physically attractive girls as I get older. I am not interested in dating anyone over 25. Story 106. I care more about how they take care of themselves and manage their finances. Aside from that, nothing else has changed. Story 107. As a woman, this is a very insightful post. It is funny how common the attraction to unstable women was in your younger years. Story 108. I am in my early 30s and generally prefer dating women a couple of years younger. Many women my age are single parents, lack ambition, or have not maintained their appearance. I work hard and stay in shape, so I seek companionship with those who share similar values. Story 109. I used to seek adventurous women that all the men desired. Now, I am the complete opposite. I want a very quiet, low-key woman whom no one knows, who will bring me peace. Peace is what makes a marriage last. Story 110. I have heard many older men complaining about ending up in sexless marriages. I used to be attracted to the idea of being with a woman who has a low number of sexual partners because society encourages men to seek that. However, as I think more about a serious long-term relationship, I realize I am actually starting to want a woman with a higher number of sexual partners, as enduring a lack of intimacy does not seem enjoyable. Story 111. I used to like large breasts, but now I prefer smaller ones with a nice shape. Generally, that's all that has changed. Story 112. Looking back, it seems to be the same. Mainly, I just want to dive in to gain experience on how to deal with challenges. Story 113. Easy, peaceful women are 10s. Beautiful headaches are 5s at best. You need to look for a woman who can laugh at herself, engage in conversations that match your interests, and eat whatever, whenever. Share the same life goals and keep each other in check. Don't forget to make her laugh, whether at you or with you. She's smiling. Story 114. I'm interested in women who have hobbies or can make good conversation. I also appreciate women with goals, as I like to motivate them. In the past, I focused on looks, but being attractive while having the personality of a rock is not a good combination. Story 115. I traveled quite a bit. When I reached my 30s, I decided to stop dating women with children. This choice significantly reduced my dating pool, and I nearly reconsidered. That was until I recognized that younger women compared me to men their age, and I achieved a new level of success when I married a woman over 10 years younger with no kids. Regarding the types of women I dated, I initially pursued goth girls until I realized that the appeal of dating one and the reality were entirely different. I could only handle being accused of bringing negative energy and dealing with threats of self-harm for so long. I also decided to avoid redheads because they tend to have volatile personalities, and my last ex was a diagnosed and medicated psychopath. Story 116. Physically, I do not find overweight women attractive. I find fit women most appealing. However, I am now looking for more qualities. She needs to be smart, independent, ambitious, and diligent. Story 117. When I was younger, I liked larger breasts and attractive faces. I had a girlfriend in high school who had exceptionally large breasts, and I was completely fascinated by them. Now, at 42, I actually prefer smaller breasts but appreciate a cavia figure. In my youth, I didn't pay much attention to body shape. Some may say it is superficial and immature to focus on physical attributes. While I do value the emotional connection, I am honestly sharing what physical features catch my interest now. Story 118. I haven't changed much at all. The only thing I can point to is that after having had a Japanese girlfriend, my inclination toward Asian women has grown significantly stronger. Other than that, it has pretty much been the same for the last 20 years. Story 119. I am 35 years old. In addition to younger women, I find women in their 40s and 50s attractive. I also appreciate fuller-figured women more than I used to. Story 120. I can tell you as a 39-year-old woman that the older I get, the more I remain attracted to men in my general age range of plus or minus 5 to 10 years. For example, I watch a lot of National Football League games, and now I think some of the head coaches are good-looking and ignore the players. I watch old romantic comedies and find myself saying, "Hey, look at their dad." In my 20s, I never did this. I have never been the type who is 25 and attracted to a 40-year-old man. Likewise, I don't seem to be the type who is 40 and attracted to a 25-year-old man either. I believe there are men out there like me. When I say attracted, I mean seriously considering a relationship. There are some people outside of this mindset who might text, "Are you up?" And yes, I would definitely be interested. I am not talking about that. Story 121. Still prefer women under 30. However, I can't deal with individuals who are narcissistic, immature, or confrontational about the latest wave of feminism anymore. Story 122. I was attracted to physically fit, pretty girls without any expectations for personality. I even entered a toxic relationship. After that, my attraction shifted to girls with strong features and more personality expectations. Now, at nearly 30, I find myself drawn to curvy girls, particularly those with an appealing waist, and I also appreciate various traits in their personalities. Story 123. Attracted to slimmer type females. I never would have said that in my first 30 years on this planet. At the same time, I've realized that looks aren't the entire package for me. If all someone presents is their appearance, I lose interest immediately. I will not entertain raising someone else's young children. I have my own teenager, and I feel no responsibility for raising someone else's kids. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.